All right, let's preview the Cubs and Rangers. That's the next series at Wrigley Field. Jeff Wilson from our All-City sister station, DLLS, covering the Rangers. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. How about you?
Well, we're doing better. The Cubs blew the series finale against the Padres, but we see that the Rangers are coming in red hot, 8-2. What are the Rangers doing well right now?
Well, it's really strangely for a Rangers team. It's not the offense. It's been the pitching staff. You hear about Valdi and DeGrom. You hear a lot about them, but it's been guys like Hobie Milner today and Jacob Webb, and trying to think of guys who've pitched in the National League who you might recognize. Well, Chris Martin. I'm sure you guys remember Chris Martin. So it's been guys like that, Luke Jackson, who've just kind of solidified the bullpen. They aren't hurting themselves. This team last season walked too many guys. This year they're not doing that so far. It's really been a pitching, I don't want to say renaissance, but a lot of people had questions about the bullpen, and really the bullpen's been really, really strong and picking up the starters.
What do you expect these players to? How do you expect them to react to the weather that they're going to be coming into? What, Luke, you said
it's high of 39 and potentially snow for a night game.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be it won't be Texas warm, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, they are aware of what they're getting into. It wasn't warm here today, but we have this big, beautiful roof that makes everything just so pleasant. And so there's gonna be a lot of hand warmers and face masks, I can assure you. But Bruce Bochy was trying to say, well, it's cold for everybody and it's not gonna be that bad once you get playing. And we were kind of like, Bruce, that's BS. It's gonna be freezing up there. And so but the pitchers are looking forward to it. I know that Nathan Eovaldi is going to be pretty darn tough to hit with his mid 90s stuff and all the pitches he throws. Nobody's going to want to hit, I don't think. So if he gets him off to a good start, things will be a lot warmer. But they're bracing for the worst here.
Jeff, nice meeting you. Jack Leiter goes on the shelf, which stinks. A couple good starts for him to start the year. We're going to see Patrick Corbin in game 2. Patrick Corbin's had a really rough couple of years. Anything that they're expecting out of him in this year? I mean, is he going to be a spot starter, a consistent rotation piece, or do you expect him to kind of just be up here for now for the 15 days and then, okay, back to the bullpen or end of the bench?
Yeah, the Rangers, the second to last week before spring training ended, they lost John Gray and Cody Bradford, who were pitching great and were going to be on the rotation. And so that forced Leiter and ultimately Kumar Rocker into the rotation. And they signed Corbin for just over $1 million. He's just sitting around throwing in Florida. And they liked what he did in the second half last year. He made some adjustments with his pitch usage, and they think that he has an opportunity to capitalize on that. I'll believe it when I see it. You just look at those last 4 or 5 seasons. They're just unsightly. They're so ugly. But he is durable. I don't think there's been a more durable pitcher in baseball since 2016. And to give up all those hits, you got to pitch a lot of innings. So you would think that he'll give them length. I think right now they just want to survive. The Leiter thing has been terrific. The 2 starts. He was great at Cincinnati Wednesday, but he's had this blister, I guess, since the end of spring training, and they didn't have the 5 days to wait on him. They didn't have an off day and an ability to skip him. So Corbin's going to get a shot. He's thrown on his own twice over 80 pitches. He threw in Arizona the other day, and he threw 87 pitches. Velocity's 92, 93. So we'll see. Don't have high hopes. If I'm being perfectly honest, but he's a hell of a nice guy, if that counts for anything. But I don't know. I'm going to I think everybody's going to kind of hold their breath on that one.
The Padres came in here to the weekend undefeated, and the Cubs take 2 out of 3. One of the themes throughout the series, I thought, was the Padres played kind of poorly defensively. They were just fundamentally not very strong. In the last game, the Cubs were sort of that way as well. Lots of walks in this series. Where have the Rangers been fundamentally? Because when it's cold like it's going to be at Wrigley Field, the Rangers have tons of guys that can hit home runs, but it's a lot harder to do when there's a
Right.
20-mile-an-hour wind coming in from center field. Have they been fundamentally sound this year?
I would say they have. They've played a pretty clean brand of baseball. I saw some of that game yesterday, Cubs Padres game, and what was Machado over at third kind of kicked one, and it was kind of a messy sequence there for him that whole inning. The Rangers, the best thing the pitching staff has done is they haven't walked a lot of guys. They haven't given up the 2 and 3 run homers that they've just self-induced harm there with putting guys on base. Today in the 8th inning, Mark Church, who's a rookie, walked the leadoff hitter, and Tampa Bay ended up scoring twice and tying the game, and the Rangers needed to walk it off. So they've been doing enough there to limit damage. And then defensively, there haven't been any like spectacular plays, but there don't need to be. If the ball's hit you, catch the thing and throw it to first base, or you've seen a couple sliding plays. Okay, great, but it's been a pretty clean brand of baseball so far. The offense hasn't been able to string it together hits. That's been the kind of the Achilles heel here. They won 2 games at Cincinnati last week, 1-0. They can't hit the ball out of the ballpark. They hit 3 homers yesterday, had only 4 hits, won the game that way. They know that they aren't going to be able to do that this series with the Cubs at Wrigley and the cold temperatures. It'll be interesting to see if they can string anything together, because that has been few and far between so far.
You talk about the offense and how it hasn't necessarily clicked, but I'm looking here on Fangraphs, and Wyatt Langford's off to a great start for the Rangers based off these numbers, a 142 WRC plus to start the year. I know he's a highly touted prospect going to last year. How has his development been, and what has it been like to watch him? We have a few players in Pete Crow-Armstrong and Matt Shaw who are young, and we're trying to be patient with them. But what do you think has taken Wyatt Langford from where he was when he was, made his major league debut to now?
All these young guys, they got to see pitching. They come in with such a disadvantage. Wyatt Langford played had 161 at bats in the minor leagues in 23, and all of a sudden he's the opening day left fielder. He didn't hit a home run over the fence until middle May last year, and really he entered the last month at around 10 or 11 homers and ended up being the American League Player of the Month. I think he had 8 home runs in September. It just took time. You got to see these guys. Even going into August, the Pirates came to town. He'd never seen any of those guys. So I think a year of knowledge of seeing pitchers and knowing how they pitch them and what the stuff looks like has been beneficial. But he had a little oblique injury early in camp. And since he came back, he's just been great. He really has been. The home run he hit last night came on like 101 mile per hour fastball. Inside, he turned on it, lined it over the fence. He's got all the talent in the world. He can run. He doesn't throw great, but he's in left field for that reason, I'm assuming. But the guy can play. He's really, really good. I mean, he's their number 3 hitter. This is a guy that's probably should still be in the minor leagues if it were another era. But he's batting third for a team that expects to win the American League.
So what you're saying is, be patient.
Be patient.
It's hard with some of these young guys. They go up, they come down, they go back up, and you got a good one in Wyatt Langford, though. He is really fun to watch. I think you're going to enjoy watching Pete Crow-Armstrong and Matt Shaw in this series, but he's not. Those two aren't on his level quite yet. But like you said, first home run comes a month into the season. Shaw's hit his already. Patience. It's a virtue with young players.
Be patient. Look at Evan Carter, who came up in 23 at the end of the month, helped him get to the postseason, helped them win the World Series. He's hitting 105 in AAA right now. All right, he missed a lot of last year, but everyone was like, "Oh, he's going to be the center fielder. Everything fine." Young players, he's 22. You just don't miss 500 at bats and just all of a sudden step back in and hit major league pitching when you have a career. I think he has 61 entering last season. He had 61 career at bats in the regular season and 60 in the postseason. All right, he only got 144 at bats last year. You just don't pick it up. It's hard for veterans who miss a lot of time to get going again. And then young players, have some patience, but trust the player development staff because and trust the scouting departments because there's a reason they're in the major leagues. It just may take a little time.
Cubs and Rangers next 3 days. Jeff Wilson from our sister station, DLLS. Jeff, thanks. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Anytime, fellas. I appreciate meeting you guys and hope for a good series here. And no frostbite. No frostbite.
No frostbite for anybody.